Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Okay, so today I'm going to continue on with the custom guards for this custom compressor. So, in video part 5.2, I think it was, yeah it was 5.2, I started making these front guards for the compressor itself. So because it's a tandem compressor, I need two sets of guards for each pumping station. So what this video involves is making the backing panels in which these front panels mount directly to. So what I'm going to do here is I have a lot of work to cover here. So I'll give a wee discussion first in what exactly I need, and then I'm going to move straight into the manufacturing process. So I'll bring the camera up nice and close here. I'll give a wee discussion around these front guards and a wee discussion around the compressor, and then I will jump straight into the manufacturing here. So we'll take this off the stand. Okay, so what we have here is two front guards. I call them the front guards because the parts that I'm going to make in this video, I refer them as the backing panels, okay? So the backing panels are required for these front panels to mount to, okay? So the idea is to have these backing panels in between the pulley and the motor and this larger pulley and the pump on both pumping stations. So the backing panel will slide down between this where I describe here and between the shafts. So the shaft on the pump and the shaft on the motor on both sides here. So these two front panels, these front guards are identical, okay? So the idea is to have two backing panels that look similar to these, only both of them will have a band in which the front guard will slide over, and then I can fix the front guard to the backing panel. So the backing panel itself will be mounted directly to the compressor, the vessel, or the pump, but not the motor, because we need to keep the motor adjustable to adjust this belt, this V-belt. Okay, so I'm going to jump straight into this now, but I should point out here, the guards need to have no restrictions. So if you can imagine, the idea of this pulley is for the motor to drive the pump, but also it acts as a fan to cool this pump down. So I need to make sure that there's no restrictions running through here, this direction, or will affect the fan here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use another two pieces of mesh similar to this. So 3 inch, the profile is 3 inch by half inch, and I'm going to try and keep it as lined up to this as possible. So I don't want the other mesh not sitting too high or sitting too low. If you can imagine at this point, I want, if you're looking down on it, the bars all in the exact same place. So that's it everyone, we're going to get onto this now and hopefully it goes well here. So these are nearly complete. I need to give them a wee polish at the final stage, but I won't do that until I have the backing panels complete. Hopefully I get it done in one video here for this beast of a compressor. So the compressor is a 50 CFM. It came on my channel at the start of the year. It has two 25 CFM pumps and two 4 kilowatt motors, single phase. So it's the biggest single phase piston compressor in the world. Let's get stuck into this now anyway. Hopefully it goes well. Okay, so here we have the front panel, the front guard. And here we have one of the back panels that I have cut. So I'm calling it the backing panel because it's the place where the front guard, or the position where the front guard is mounting to a part of the compressor. So what I'm going to do here now is give a wee description of what exactly it is I need to do, and then I'm going to just go ahead and do it. So for me to attach this front guard to this backing panel, what I need to do is form some sort of a lip around the backing panel, and then I can screw or tap this lip and add dome head screws to attach the front panel to this backing panel. This backing panel will then, or will be initially, mounted to the compressor or the pump, not the motor, because the motor has to be left adjustable. So I'm just going to lift this off again without marking it. Okay, so my idea is to use these flat bars. So the depth of the flat bar is 3 mil. I forget the width now, I think it's 20 mil. Yeah, 20 mil. 20 mil times 3. So my idea is to form this flat bar to match the perimeter of this backing panel. And then this flat bar will be welded directly to the backing panel at every one of these bars. Not every one, but every other one. Sort of similar to the way this is welded in the meantime. So this will be changed. This will be maybe welded fully. I haven't made my mind up yet. But for this will only be tacked here and there. So hopefully that makes sense. So what I have done here now is I have marked where the radius begins on this large part of this backing panel. So obviously, because this perimeter, the circumference measures, I think it's around, what do we see? 2 meters or 1.8 meters. So each one of these bars, these flat bars, is 1 meter long. So I need to use 2 of them. I'm not going to weld them together like I done with this side panel or the sidewall on the front guard, because I think it's better to do this when I'm actually assembling the backing panel, or when I'm attaching these flat bars to this, just so I can tweak it, so I can have it a nice neat snug fit to this front panel. When I say a nice neat snug fit, I want the flat bar just touching this bar here and no more. I'm going to try and make it as perfect as I can. We'll see how it goes. I think it will go well, but you never know, things can go wrong. So here we have where I need to rule the tight radius for this point. So I think it's 230 mil diameter. So that's from this mark to the end of the bar. I've allowed approximately 25 mil because there will be a flat bit at the end of each bar when I bring it out of the rulers. So that goes for this side too. There will also be a flat bit, but I have allowed for that. As I say, when these two, if I was to weld them together, are 2 meters, I have approximately, 200 mil? Well, I don't even think it is 200 mil. I think it's about 150 mil excess left over. So I'm going to get started here now, but as I say, this is the big radius. When I say big radius, it's this big diameter here, seen at this point. This small part is for here. So see between this point, this mark and this mark, this is the flat part, and this will be welded between these two radiuses. So the small radius and the large radius. And I should point out that each one of these flat bars will be welded 3 mil in from each one of these bars. So that's important because the outside, the perimeter of this, or this face, this area of this face, matches this face. So to the outside of the bars, to the outside of these bars sitting vertical, up and down. So it's a bit hard to explain, so I'll get started here. We'll start rolling these and hopefully it all goes well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead here, but first things first, I just want to point out, I'm going to be using this jig to allow me to shape or to guide the flat bar to match this edge. But it's important that I match it to the inside rather than the outside. So when I form the flat bar, I need the flat bar sitting on the platform at this point and lined up to this edge seen here, or this face. And that goes for right around the full perimeter here. So I'll put the camera on the stand and I'll get started. Okay, so I need to be careful here because I damaged one of my tendons in my right hand at the start of the week. It's only starting to really come round again. So the machine I'm going to be using here to roll this flat bar is this 3-in-1 press brake machine. So it's a shear brake and roll machine, forming machine. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to start off with this bigger radius and then we're going to focus on the smaller one. So remember, I am only going to be rolling to this black mark, this permanent mark, and the same goes for this one. So here we go. This will take a moment, but I do want to point out I'm only going to demonstrate doing one of them, even though I need to do 4. So we'll start off with this bigger one. Hopefully I'm not blocking the camera here. I'll just move it into position. So working on the right hand side of the machine, for obvious reasons, if I was to place this flat bar to the middle of the press brake, it wouldn't be as effective because the rollers would start to curve. So here we go. So adjustments at the back of the machine here. I'm just backing it off. There we go. So that's it started there now. Keeping the flat bar perpendicular to this roller or the axis of the machine in this direction. And remember, I have to stop here at the permanent mark. Go no further or I will make a mess of it. So there we have a small curve, but obviously I need more than that. So I'm going to adjust the back of the machine here. One full turn. And I'm going to just move it out a wee bit. Another full turn, Pushing the bar into the rollers. So the 2 bottom rollers are driving, you only see one of them. Stopping at the mark. Checking it at the jig. Not enough. The sweat is running off me. It's very warm today. Yeah. One wee bit now. Okay, so that's it. I'm just going to bring the camera down here. Okay, so do you see the mark here at this point? What I want to do is I want to line this mark up to the mark where the radius starts on this jig. And then when I place it on the jig like so, I want to make sure that the stainless matches the timber. So it's looking good. But if you look here, it's going on a wee bit too far. What I can do here is basically work it with my hands gently over the span of the curve. And as you can see, it's looking perfect there now. So I'll move on to this side and we'll then start assembling and welding 2 of these together for each backing panel. So there will be 4. And what I'll need to do now, is cut the flat bit off it here, created by the rollers, and basically have 2 matching pieces welded together. And then we will weld that to the backing panel. So we'll move on here. Okay, so on to the smaller radius now. So this one's looking good. So that should be approximately, what is it? 460 in diameter. So what's that? 230. The radius is 230 from the center point of the guard to this point. So yeah, well, approximately. I think it is. So moving on here now, the sweat is actually running off my forehead. So I had to turn the fan on. So we're going to do this small end now. So backing the roller off, backing it off again. And this time I'm only going approximately 200 mil from the end of the bar to the mark because it's a smaller diameter or smaller radius. So I'm sort of rolling it one turn at a time. It gives you a much neater curve than just going all in, believe it or not. You can't mess things up then. Well, you still can, but you have a better chance of a better workpiece. So this one will be much tighter with the smaller radius. I'm stopping the mark at approximately the last place I can see it. I'm stopping the roll even to the last place I can see the mark. And I'm adjusting the roller. I'm bringing the roller down, the top roller down, each time the workpiece is out. Rather than tighten it at this point, because you would end up with a curve that's not, what word am I looking for? Balanced, uneven. Yeah, getting tight now. Okay, I'll check it now first. Just a wee bit to go yet. It's hard to get started just now. There we go. So what the jig is telling me now, I'll just do a wee sample of this. So what the jig is telling me here now, that the flat bar matches to this point. So what I need to do now is roll approximately from here to right here, a wee bit past it. I'm trying not to focus at this point too much because the flat bar will end up being sitting in this way at this point when this end is even or positioned at the end of the jig. We don't want that. So I'll put the camera on the stand here again. Okay, so I'm just going to back it off and give it one wee roll over the whole thing. Okay, so that's it. So I'll bring the camera up here nice and close. Okay, so if you look down on this now, you can see that the flat bar follows the jig right around and around this small radius. So what I need to do now is form 3 more of these and then take them outside, cut them, and then weld them together. Weld 2 of them together to match this perimeter or this area of this jig, the area of that face. So we'll do that now. I'll continue rolling the other 3, and hopefully they go well. They go as well as this one. So good job. Okay, so I have the 4 bars, the flat bars rolled at the 2 ends. So what I'm going to do here now is use the jig to set up the actual perimeter of these bars. So to get them nice and neat to match the front faces that I have created, the mesh guards. So I have a center line drawn on the jig here. I also have a line at this point, a line at this point. So that's to make sure that the flat bar is set according to the jig. So this flat part needs to line up with the flat part on the jig. So what I'm going to do here now is start off by placing these wooden blocks to the jig like so. Then I can screw the flat bar to these blocks. So, well, I'm hoping that the perimeter then will follow the jig. It should. So, the first thing I need to do here then, after I screw these to the jig, I need to drill 2 pilot holes here, where the radius, the curve starts. So here we go. We'll start off with these blocks, making sure they are dead center of this line on the jig. Nice and tight. Okay, I'm gonna drill these outside. Okay, so just gonna do them inside on this bench. Bit of CT90 cutting fluid. Second one done. So I have started these holes off, not just dependent on the center points, because the drill can wander. So these holes will be the mounting points for the front guards, but also they will be used now to line up these bars to the jig. Okay, so with the holes drilled, what I need to do now is clamp these flat bars to these 2 pieces of timber, or blocks of timber. So that then matches the space, because the timber is lined up to the bottom and the top platform. So I need to be sure now to screw this, to line these marks up with the mark on the jig. And when this is done, I can then proceed to cut these bars. I could add extra blocks at this point and more holes, but I don't want to do that. I only want 4 holes. I could maybe put a hole in the middle, but that hole in the middle is no good for now because I have to cut these in the middle. I don't want one bigger than the other. I want a mirror image, and I want the weld bang on centre. So here is the centre line that I've created. So that then tells me, if I line this up, so once this is screwed, I can put a wee fine mark at this point and cut it. And the same goes for the bar at this side. So I think it should go well here. Okay, so I went ahead there and cut one of them to match this centre mark. So basically what I done is I screwed one of the bars to the 2 blocks like so, lining this mark up, this hole to this line, and this hole to this line, which is the start of the radius. So this one is cut, this one's not cut, but what I've done here is I've placed a mark on the one beside it, basically lining them up, pulling them into position like so, and placing a fine mark with a biro, as seen there, and also at this point. So what I'm going to do here is go ahead and cut them and go back inside, because it's too warm out here today. It's at 25 degrees and that's just too much, so the sweat's running off me. So I'll get these cut and we'll get back in the shade and get these welded. Then I have to get them sanded. So all's going well. Okay, one thing I didn't mention there was these bars, this piece, the piece that's already cut and filed and grinded into a nice neat straight edge. This is screwed to the bench, and so is the one beside it, in the exact same position, the start of the radius. So I'll get these cut now. So lining this one up now. So that's that one screwed beside the other one. The one that we know is correct. So what I'm going to do here now is just basically line up the edges like so and place a wee fine barrow mark here. And the same goes for this smaller radius. So lining the two up, making sure to cut to the other side of the barrow line too. So I'll get these cut here. Okay, so I have two complete. Seen here to the left of me. Just need to cut these two now. They're obviously going to need tweeted to get them to line up perfect. But we'll do that after I get them cut. Okay, so that's all cut and done. I like doing it in the garage. Don't have my air mask fixed yet. Air respirator. So we'll get these cleaned up now and we'll get them, take everything back into the garage, the jig and all. Okay, so these four pieces, these four parts are now complete. So what I'm going to do here now is weld the two sets together to form two bands. So I just want to point out, if you want to see more detail in the forming, the rolling, the cutting, the grinding and the filing of these edges or these parts, do get a look on my channel at the live streams. I cover this in depth. So I'm going to fix band, this is band B. So this is a maxing set. It's tweeted to fit this jig. So if I was to interchange these parts, they mightn't fit at the minute. But the two bands should be identical when the welding process is completed. So I'm going to weld this here now. So I'm going to fix it to the jig first. Okay, so that's it in the jig. So what I'm going to do here now is bring the camera up nice and close and weld these two ends. Well, tack them for the meantime. Then I'm going to sand the two bands using the small 2-inch sander, so the DA sander. The reason I'm going to sand them is because I want to remove any imperfections that's in the face. I'm not going to polish the flat bar into a mirror finish because if I put heat into this it might distort it. So I'll flatten it with sandpaper anyway, with a bit of water and see how it goes, see how it looks. Just to remove any imperfections, as I say, on the surface and also this writing. So I'll weld this now, as I say. I will do the other one off camera, so hopefully it goes well. I'll bring the camera nice and close here. Okay, so I'm going to remove this band here now. I'm covered in sweat. I had to change my t-shirt there. So here we go. Currently 25 degrees outside. So this band should lift out of the jig now. There we go. So there's band B completed. So if you look here, you can see a nice radius. So there's no flat spots at the end of the curve, which you would get from the press brake or the rollers, the 3-in-1 press brake. So I have removed the flat spots. I covered this in the live stream. I don't think I covered it in this video, so I'm just pointing it out. This small radius is the same. So if you look here, it's nice and round. So this radius looks uniform right around to this point. Looks accurate. And the same goes for the big one. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to move on to the other band. I'll weld these two together in the jig. And then I'll move on to the next task, which is sanding this band, ready for the task after that, which is attaching this or assembling the backing panel off the guard sets. So we're nearly there, but a lot of work. So I'll do that now. Good job. Going very well here. Okay, so the two bands are now completed. They are welded inside, outside, and the edges. Filler rod has been used. So what I need to do now is remove these welds seen here. And when I say remove, I'm going to be using the grinder first. Then I'm going to move towards a rotary sander. And then I'm going to, so it's more aggressive. Then I'm going to be moving towards the dual action sander, but the 2-inch one. I don't know why I have this out here. So I'm going to make a start here. The sun is making its way around, so it will be very bright here in a minute. Another thing I want to mention here is I won't be polishing these bands into a mirror finish, because if I was to sit against the polisher and apply, or if I was to put heat into the bands themselves and also add stress whilst polishing, I would leave these bands out of shape. So I'm going to make a start here. I'm going to start off with the grinder, as I say. Then we're going to move towards the sanding machines, the pneumatic tools. So here we go. So the first, I'm not using a grinding disc, I'm using a flat sanding pad here. So this is to remove the welds on the edges first. So the reason I'm not using a grinding disc, because a grinding disc would sort of create dips. This is a disc, a pad that's designed for this purpose with the rubber back. Okay, so the inside now just on both bands, and we're ready for the sanding. So I'll do those off camera because they're a wee bit more trickier. Okay, so I'll do my best to try and get this on the view. It's kind of tricky, but I'm going to be using the grinding disc instead, just to start them off. Tricky because I have to work a flat bar at the same time. Okay, so that's the inside of one one side of one band. So you can still see we have the same thickness here, 3mm the whole way around. So as you can see, there's a bit more work on it, getting it right. So I'll finish this now with a dual action sander. But now I need to move on to this weld on the inside, which will be much easier because of the large radius. So the small radius is a bit more difficult. So I'll do these off camera and then we'll start sanding this, finishing it for the next stage. So going well here. Okay, so I actually went ahead there and nearly completed this band. So I'm just going to demonstrate the stages to get the band from this stage to this nearly finished stage. So just to point out here, the first sander that I'm using after the grinder is this rotary sander to remove any marks left by the sanding pad. So that is the sanding pad that I had on the grinder with the rubber back. So that's to flatten the welds first. The next stage is using this rotary sander, so here we go. Okay, so moving on now to the dual action. Large 6-inch one and also the 2-inch one. So I'm going to start with the 2-inch, then I'm going to move, or 50mm, and then I'm going to move on to this bigger one to sort of finish the finishing touches even. So if you want to see more detail on this polishing stage, do get a look at live stream part 13 of these guards. So here we go. So a bit of water works wonders here, giving us a better aggressive cut, a more aggressive cut. Okay, now on to the final stage, which is, well, that was either grit. Now on to the final stage is using the, well, I'm going to be using 320 first, and then I'm going to move on to 600 grit. So to start off, we're going to be using this big sander. So this is to remove any grey, any this dull finish, or any imperfections. Leaving it to a nice bright silver finish. So if you look at this one I did earlier, look at the difference. The difference is clear. Okay, so the two bands are now complete. As you can tell, they're nice and smooth. There's no grinding marks within the band themselves. So the both surfaces, inside and outside, and these edges. So my next step here now is attaching the two bands to the backing panels. To do this, I'm going to be using the jig again to keep the bands in shape. So I need to modify the jig, or I need to add a couple of blocks, well 4 blocks. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this backing panel onto the jig again. So once I put the 4 blocks on, this backing panel will be lined up to the jig. Then what I do is I slide this band into the jig, into the 4 blocks. And what I'm going to do is clamp the band to the blocks. We'll screw the band to the blocks, these blocks. And after that, I'm going to place 4 tacks on the inside. So at the points where I have it clamped. So here, 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 and here. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove it from the jig again, and I'm going to flip the entire part, the backing panel with the band, up this way, upside down, and then I'm going to start welding the band to the piece of mesh So all the welding will be mostly done to this back side. So just to point out, the idea initially was to have this backing panel a wee bit bigger than this template or this jig, but I have modified it to make this piece of mesh now the same size as this face, so that it lines up perfectly with the band itself. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to start modifying the jig, and then I'm going to move on to welding here, welding stage. So I only need one band in the meantime for one guard. So again, if you look at this band, they are perfect now. You can't see the weld on the outside, the inside, or this side, or this side. And what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to be actually polishing this piece into a mirror finish, because I have the finish here that I wanted. So this is sanded up to 320 grit. Live stream part 13, I think it was. Okay, so we're going to start here. Modify the jig first. So these blocks are nice and tight to this face, this edge. So this is my point of interest. So that's it, ready for the two parts. Soon to be one part. Okay, so my next step is now attaching the piece of mesh. So I will need one band. So starting with this backing panel that's cut very precise to match the jig. So it's important here that there's an upside down on this. So this is the bottom and this is the top. So this is the inside of the guard. So I want these bars to run perpendicular on the opposite side. So they sit into these cutouts on the jig. The tinfoil is there just to keep the wood from blowing back at me. They'll gum now, so the wood doesn't burn when I go to weld it. So I'm only welding it in 4 places for the meantime. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to remove the actual part, this piece from the jig. I'm going to flip it over the body. I'm going to be using straight edges at this point and at this point to keep here nice and straight, these 2 points. So just to point out again, when I welded this, it will tend to move a wee bit. So that's why I'm putting it back onto the jig, like so. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to screw this, but it's important that I screw this on these lines, so it matches the jig. So the tight's ready. So this band is now sanded to perfection, ready to be polished into a mirror finish. I wasn't initially going to polish it into a mirror finish, but I am going to do that now because the backing panel this band will be much more rigid when it's attached to this stainless mesh. As you can see, it already looks like a mirror finish on the inside, but as I say, it's only it's only sanded to 320 grit. So the problem is now I can't see the marks because of the tin foil, the aluminium foil, but you just have to wing it, line it up. So that's one corner. So if you notice here, I'm focusing on the end of the curves, the start of the straight points. Making sure that the band is tight to the mesh. So if you look here now closely, you can see that the band is no longer in shape. It doesn't match, it doesn't correspond to the jig. So you can see here, I put my finger through it. So what I tend to do now, what I'm going to do is pull this out till it matches the jig. Like so. Again, because of the tinfoil, I can't see the marks, so I'm sort of lining it up with my eye here. So just to point out, there's 4 holes that were used to manufacture the bands are already on the bands before I assembled them together. So I'm pushing down on the band at the same time. Didn't look right there, but I was just jammed to the side. So that's it, ready to be welded in 4 places. Point 1, 2, 3 and 4. So if you want to see this in more detail, do get a look at live stream part 14. So hopefully when I remove the 2 parts tacked together from the jig and I flip them over the body, hopefully the bars at the point where they're screwed aren't sitting too far to the inside. So here we go, 40 amps, gas on. Just make sure this is tight. So I'm keeping the gas on there to keep the weld nice and clean. So now this side, but what I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn it round. No, you don't know. You know what? I'm just going to continue here. No, I'll turn it. One shot. You know what? So I'm keeping the weld in the exact same position. So this side of the screw, the right hand side now, left hand side when it was turned around. So I'm being really fussy here. And I'm just going to double check again. So the tinfoil is doing what it's meant to do. Okay, so it looks good. Lined up quite well here. So what I can do here now is I can move the band to match the mesh. Forget about the jig. See the wood, this point here, the heat. So the tinfoil didn't really do its job that time. So sort of left a pile of burnt rubbish attached to the stainless, but I will be polishing it anyway, so it doesn't matter. Worked at this side, kinda, but so will be much easier now. But my first step here now is clamping, making this straight edge run. Well, it should be straight at this point between the small radius and the large radius. So 2 clamps, 2 pieces of aluminium box there. So this is kind of similar to what I done with the actual front part of the guard. So what I get it here. So the front part of the guard I use these 2 straight edges to keep this part straight. So I'm doing the same here now at this point. These 2 points. So if you look there, see the way you can see the stainless is not straight. And also, if I line this up, the stainless band needs to go this way. So when I take this bend out of here at this point and this point, the stainless bar, or sorry, the stainless band will go this way. And then hopefully these edges line up nice and straight. Yeah, nice and neat to this face. I don't think this clamp's big enough. Just about. Just about. I'm going to keep the aluminium side to here. Actually, I'm going to clean two of these first. Okay, so I just cleaned these because I don't want the powder coating interfering with the welding process, the welding stage. Keeping them sort of a third in this way. This one 2/3 across. So just keeping them down a wee bit. Making sure that this face is tight to the band. And away we go. Working in the centre for the meantime. And also one final thing here I should point out. Making sure that none of these bars that's running this way, that doesn't have a support, is running straight, running parallel to each other. Looks alright, but I'm going to work on this one that has a supporting bar for the meantime because it's the centre. And there's the one, so I'm going to close this door. Good. So I'm now going to go round to this straight part, the other side of the backing panel. So these straight edges are very important. The positioning of them is also very important. And I actually have them in the wrong place, so I need to bring them this way. So in between the screw holes, the screws used for the jig, or sorry, the holes used for the jig. So that's this here's position 1, position 2, and in between them is a straight part. After them is a curve. So that out dirty weld that hit the timber when I was tacking the mesh to the band and the jig, that can be polished out. Okay, so, and to be honest, it's not far out at this point either. Let's just check this one. So I'm going to now weld, do the exact same process as I've done to this side to here. Making sure the mesh is tight to the band. And we'll take a chance that we can get in there through this aluminium piece here. So again, what I'm going to do is just line these bars up to the band. And I actually can have these bars past the band a wee bit this way to line these ones up, but I don't want to do that, so I'm just going to have to modify these ones a wee bit. Flush is better. Now the middle. So I'll keep that on. Small twisted up here. So the middle now, roughly here, making sure that this bar isn't sitting off. It's parallel to the ones that's fixed at this point. So it doesn't have a support due to its complex shape. So I'm going to pick that one. Pushing down on it. So when I'm welding this, I'm not welding the face of the bar. Well, at the beginning I am. But then what I do then is I bring the torch up to the top of the bar to remove that sharp edge. So it's sort of like a wee ball rather than having the sharp edge as it does here and all these other ones. It's not welded. So when I polish this weld now, it'll look nice and neat. So that's that one done now too. We're getting there. So I can now work on this big edge, this big radius. So I'll do that. So you can probably tell now why it's important to have the band and this mesh lined up at the beginning in the jig, because let's say I done these two straight edges, this point, and I go to weld here. These ones might have been sitting out too much or in too much. Out's better than in, to be honest. So this is now a tricky process again. So basically just using my hands to line the band up to the mesh. So just to point out, I hope that this part still fits the band when I'm complete. I should point out, it doesn't matter if I had the band sitting in that position or this position. The front guard will always follow the band, because at the end of the day, it's just mesh. You get me? But I am having this perfect, because I know that these pieces are done on this jig that's turned upside down. So attach the air clamp, and then I will focus on the smaller radius once I have 3 pieces or so welded here. So I'm just going to line this up first. Okay, so for this next step, what I'm going to do is start where the 2 welds were placed in the jig, which is here and here, these dirty welds, because of the timber. I'm going to work my way here along this radius, this curve, and I'm going to do the same here. So I'm going to keep them flush, and at the end then, these 2 should line up. So go ahead here. This shouldn't take long, because it's looking well. I don't like the fact that the earth clamps attached to the, it's going to destroy it. Wiggling about. So I'll just have to be careful. So let me see the view here in this other camera. Okay, so if I line that up there, right, and I line this one up, it looks not too bad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep them to the inside a wee bit, half a mil, because flush is leaving us short here. Well, is it? No, you know what? Flush should be alright. So keeping the mesh tight to the band, pushing down on it. Just want to get this right, don't want to mess it up. Flush. So again, torch down, torch up, sort of just flush it, run the bar down into the band. So here now it needs pulled out. The band needs pulled out a wee bit. I'll put one here too. Making sure it's straight. Whew. What I'm going to do now is go around to this part of the radius. As mentioned, work the way that way. Not easy. I could, but I'm not gonna. I could tap it with a mallet there. It's alright. When the mesh, the 2 pieces were in the jig, the mesh was sitting. It's not much. It's about 1/4 of a mil. Too much to the inside. I'll demonstrate that. So just avoid the tarnish mark. That's just the timber. So you can see there, It's not far away, it's alright. I'll still be able to weld it with no filler rod. Okay, so back around now to here at this point, and they are looking good. So, if, let's say, these was sitting too far this way, I could pull the band out, but the band would tend to pull on at this point. We don't want that. So, they're looking alright, so I'm going to weld them here. So these bars don't have a support as they do here within close proximity. So just making sure they're straight, letting them sit where they are. They're grand because I have these backing panels all nice and straight after I polished them, straightened. So now we're nearly at the end of this large radius. Just going to bring this camera back a bit. So you can see here now that this bar here is running off. So all that I would do in this instance is I would get the shifter and give it a wee twist, and there it's perfect. I could get the verniers and I could measure the likes of this one. It's 10.6. Sorry, it's 9.8 at this point. And if I go out to here, it's 9.5, so that's grand. So I can go ahead and weld this one, pushing down on it. But this time, we're working on a tapered end of the bar, so this might need more attention. Preferably not falling off the table. Done. 9.64. So now I have this piece of mesh lined up with the band from the small radius right around to here. So the last hack, the last weld will be here for the meantime. Don't know if you can tell or not, but this bar is a wee bit past the edge, so I'm going to use a wee bit of filler rod. It's more past the centre, but at the same time, it's 9.64 there, so that's perfect. Nearly pushed down on it. So what I'm going to do here is clamp it. If I had a weight, it would work, but I don't have a weight. Just a wee bit of pressure, not too much. I'm going to weld this one too. I'm going to weld this one and this one. Go ahead here. Where's my rod? Don't need the rod over here. The bar's flush. So in between this weld and this weld for the meantime, making sure it's tight to the band. Okay. Pushing down on the mesh. Again. Good. Right, now around to this side. Making sure the bar's running true. It's not. Making sure this bar is running true because it doesn't have the support at the end of it, and neither does this one. So look how awful it would be if I didn't line that up. It would look pathetic. What I can do is go like this, measure across the four of them, and then go like this. So I didn't hold that one down because as the weld cools down, and let's say it's not touching, it's sort of floating a wee bit, as the weld cools down it will contract and it will get closer to the band. So now on to this final bar, and this is where I have to be careful because this bar is about to actually fall off. The crimp, the weld, corroded. When I was polishing it, it broke, and to be honest, it was never put back on the same way. So it needs polished anyway. I'm going to weld it here now, but I need to make sure it's the same distance between this bar, this point, and this point, and this point. Using the vernier here. So 9.85. 9.5, let me see. 9.7 needs to go out. Probably think I'm nuts, but if it wasn't right, I wouldn't sleep tonight. Using your eyes probably the best, you know. 9.76, 9.62. So if I weld here now, it might go this way, 0.1, hopefully. And if it goes too much, well, I'll put a wee tack here first. 9.7, so it's perfect. 9.76. It's way back down again. But what I can do, 9.63. You're never going to see that, but what I can do in this instance is I can give it a wee chop at this stage. And that would have helped. Probably too much. 9.6, it's okay anyway. 9.7. Gonna weld it here. Okay everyone, so that's it, complete. Well, I'm going to weld it, finish welding it off camera here. Okay, so I'm going to do a wee demonstration here now of placing the front guard to the backing panel for the first time to see if it fits. So this is the backing panel, and if I flip it this way, here's the two welds was placed on it in the jig. Those will always stay there, but as you can see, it looks nice and neat on the inside. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to try this guard fitting it. Imagine this is wrong and the live stream is running. Quite funny, isn't it? Look at that. That's perfect. It actually did shrink a wee bit, but that doesn't matter because I will be using the stainless washers here. There's one really interesting fact here. Where do you see? So let's say this is the bottom of the. I'll lift it up. So see these bars that's running horizontal here. These bars that's running horizontal line up with the backing panel. So I'll lift it up again with it sitting in place. The front panel and the back panel line up exactly the same. So if you can imagine if you're on the compressor and you look through, all the bars line up in the gaps and the holes. So my next step now, after this is welded, is welding 4 of these wee repair washers to the side wall here. So at this point, but it will be more on the radius. So one here, one here, one here, the radius somewhere, and one here. Then I will, with this guard in position, what I'm going to do is pre-drill the holes through the washers at 4mm. Then I'm going to tap them, and the guard is really complete then at that point. The next, well, I could cut the slots, but I'm going to leave that for another video. So I'm going to go ahead here and weld this up in the backing panel. I'm just going to confirm if the other guard to the right of me fits the backing panel. So this is the other guard. Here's the one that I had there now. If I go to set this on, see the way it's sitting up on the edge over under? If I just give it a wee push, it falls into position. So it's perfect. So just to make clear, this bar is resting on the flat bar. That's where I want it to rest. But we'll see. I might keep it, it'll be alright. As long as I have these washers welded on, the guard will always find its place, its position. So again, I could have it raised. Now you know what? I'll have that bar running flush with the actual band, not the face of the backing panel here. So if I bring this a wee bit closer, well, like so. And if I get, where do they do the wee washers? If I get one of these wee washers, what I will do is I will weld the washer in two places like so, and then I might put them on the other side actually so they're tight. So the gap between these here bars running this way to the band is 3mm. This here is 2mm. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place them on the inside rather than the outside. Tack them on the inside. Here, this position, at the bottom of the radius, at the top of the large radius, and also at the bottom of the large radius. But as you can see, look how snug this this main guard fits to the backing panel. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this video up here now anyway. I'm going to go ahead here and make this other one off camera. So I have this part, the band number 2, and I also have the other backing panel. So the same process again, and then I'll weld everything together at the end up to finish this time-consuming project off. So good job. Okay, so I'll finish this off camera because there's a lot of work in it yet. So I'll start the other one in the meantime, and I'll weld everything and end up going well. So again, just tweaking this bar. Looks alright there. Next step is pushing it down tight. I could use a clamp, but if I use a clamp, it'll be in the way of making sure it's parallel. So I just have to use my index finger here to push down on it. Well, it's a bit dodgy because there's a bit of tension in that one, so I'll just put a clamp on it. Now I can't see if it's straight, but I have to take a chance. If it needs tweeted, I can hit it with this piece of box iron, piece of aluminium. This one also needs to be pushed down. So the longer ones are usually sitting up. It should look really well when it's done. I'm just going to put the clamp on this one even though it's welded at the back, just to keep it from lifting. Well, it's welded at this side. I just went over it because I have sanded all the bars. This is the one welded at the back. And just put the clamp on it just in case it moves. These three's welded, but as I say, I'm going to go over them just because I've sanded the face. Just to give it a nice round edge. So pushing down on the bars. The mesh. These short ones look okay, they don't look out of place because if you can imagine, they're shorter. The longer this is, the more out of place it may look, if it is out of place. Not to be confusing. So what I do here, going on that in a wee bit of detail, is I create a pull and then I bring the torch up and then I push it down to let the weld go down quick, give it a nice round edge. There's a one there, it's a wee bit high, so I'm going to put the clamp on it. Tricky, this one. The clamp's too small. It's still kind of high, you know. Okay, so I'm going to put a wee tack on this first, maybe. If I put this across it. Don't like that. So I'm just pushing it down. The weld. Believe it or not, these do move with a wee gentle tap. Slightest wee bit. Looking good. So we're now at this point. I shouldn't be working here actually, I should have stopped. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to leave this straight end and we're going to start working on the other parts of the curve. So hopefully it's not buckling. It's not. Looks good. So we're going to continue on. this point and go this way. Okay, so welding over the top of this one. Reason being is because I've sanded all the bars and I want all the welds having a nice rounded edge, a nice flow, rather than it looking sharp to the band like this. I want it looking like this, like a ball. Just like that. Just like that. E-ball. So now working on here, continuing my way around. So making sure that the bars are straight. Not be long to finish this one. Well, it will, but not too long. So that looks alright. Trying to keep it in view here at the same time. Just getting a good position for welding it. So starting with the ones already welded. Again, the reason I'm welding it is because it looks kind of sharp. It looks sharp because it was sanded. It was welded to hold the band. I'm just going to start a wee bit up on top of the edge and just run it down into the band, leaving a nice round edge. Just like that. So the ball will look a wee bit bigger in this one because of the tapered part. It can be sanded, that one. So it's like having more welding wire there. More filler rod. So on to these ones now. Working my way around to this point, and we're going to stop, and then we're going to do the small curve. Then we're going to finish off the two straight parts. Making sure the bars are straight. The small bars here, just from this point out, look okay because they're short. They haven't moved. When I was polishing this into a mirror finish, these longer ones tend to budge. Going to weld over the top of the weld again to leave a nice rounded edge. A rounded bar, shall I say. Just making sure it's straight. Looks a wee bit out. I'll just give it a wee tap first. So when I weld this, it might lift. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a clamp on it. Just create a wee bit of pressure to sort of assist here. So this bar now is important to line it up because it has no support, so it could be out. So by eye, rolling my eye down it, making sure it's tight to the band, which it is, and it looks straight enough. I'm going to just run my eye across this way. Just a wee twist maybe at this point. It'll be right. So if you can see there, I'm sort of flicking the torch down. So again, for anybody new on, just making sure the bars are straight before I start welding this to the band. So at this point, there's a wee bend in it. Can't do much about it, to be honest, because it's sort of like a V there at that point. I can weld it and tap it in the future. But for now, make sure they're even at this point. One shot at this. I don't want to be cutting them again. Keep it in mind, I do have to create a slot here on the two backing panels yet. So I'm just double checking this here before I move on. Start welding this. We don't want to get them wrong or weld them out of position. Looks good. Looks good until you weld it. Okay, so for anybody new, please subscribe to my channel to see more interesting projects in the future. They are coming slowly, but they will come as soon as I get this guard done. These guards. Alright, so I could spend all day tweeting them, so I'm just going to go ahead. So making sure the mesh is tight to the band, the 3mm band that I have created. And it's not at this point here. So I'm going to push down this point just. Okay, so these ones is all okay. Number 4, 5, 6, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Making sure they're straight before I weld them again. They're okay. So the welder seems to be playing up, or it's a bad earth there, but. So I'm trying to focus the weld only where the bar is and not to the right side or left side, because I don't want to distort the sharp edge here on the flat bar because it will look awful. Need a clamp on this one. Now they're alright. Make sure they're straight. As straight as we're going to get them. So the reason I have sanded all the bars is because I want the nice round sort of beveled edge on the weld rather than having a sharp edge out close to the face of the band here. I'm just going to check outside because I hear a noise. Alright, ready to rock again. So making sure these bars are straight, parallel to each other. These three are okay, but they need pushed down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clamp this middle one that's sitting high. And with the clamp on it then, I can't see if it's parallel, but it should be alright. Oh. Just making sure it's parallel. It's a bit hard to see with the clamp there. So pushing the end of the bar down to act as feather rod. So now, on to this point. We better put an earth onto the workpiece, but it makes it awkward in the weld. I should have clean sanded this piece of aluminium first. So up, down, up, down, up, down. Wow, there's bent. It's bent alright. It's there's actually a bigger gap here at one side. That could have been alright. Gap here now. Gonna hit that one again. I just don't like a wee dip in that one. A wee dip in that one too. So the welder's set at 40 amps to try and avoid that. So this bar's not coming down unless I put the screwdriver in this way. Might be out of the way of the camera here a minute. I'll bring it into position in 2 seconds when I weld this one. So pushing on the screwdriver to close the gap here. So some amount of pressure on that one to hold it down there. I'll bring it into position in 2 seconds when I weld these two next bars. Have to stop soon and move on to the other side. So now on to the small curve, and then I'm going to finish off these two small parts. Then I have another band to do. So looks like we have to keep the earth clamp on the workpiece, not the bench. The bench is dodgy. I'd rather have that on the bench, you know. It's just very corroded, the piece of aluminium. Wee bit of dust at all, not earth. Okay, so now focusing on this smaller radius. So it's important here, starting at this point, because we've got the long bars. And if we've got the long bars, it means they probably have moved out of position since I cut the mesh itself. So I just need to make sure they're straight before I weld them. So I'm going to start at this point and work my way around. So as I say, the reason I'm not continuing the welds on down this point is because I don't want the flat part to curve. So I'm sticking to the part of the band that's more rigid, if that makes sense, this curve, and the smaller one. So when I get to this point, there might be a bit of stress pushing out in the band, like a banana, this way. And hopefully that assists me when I'm welding the straight part. And when I weld it then, it comes back in straight. So that's the idea. When I weld these bars now, it'll tend to pull in here at this point. As the weld cools, it contracts. And the same goes for the this large part, which is fully welded now. So, yeah, let's see what time's running here in this. Alright, so we're not doing bad. So I'm going to continue on here now. They look alright, but the problem is when you weld them is when they look out of place. I'll start off with the smaller ones. So the welder set at 40 amps, 41 amps. So I'm not just tacking it, I'm sort of, well, technically I am. I'm holding heat on it to get the stainless to flow into a nice ball. To sort of move it away from the band. The band being this part that I've formed. Holding the gas on to keep the welds nice and clean. Not that it matters because it's going to be polished, but the cleaner the better beforehand. That one's bent there, you know. Doesn't matter straighten. Doesn't matter straighten. It's alright there now. I'll just put this earth on, or this clamp to help. Okay, so I'm going to just go over the top of these welds. So the reason I'm going over these welds is because I have sanded the bars to the band, and those welds were used to hold the band to the mesh beforehand. And the reason I'm going over them is because I want a nice curve, or a weld flowing a ball rather than a sharp edge. Okay, so that's half of that. One done. Moving on to this side now. So starting here, working my way to this part of the curve, I can actually just follow on down then. At this point here, I need a bit of filler rod, these 2 points, because, well, I've cut the bars to bring this band out because it curves in on me. So, I'll keep her lit here. Going over the top of the old welds because when I flattened the bar and the actual band, the bar is sitting flush, and I don't want it flush because when I polish this band into a mirror and the mesh in the welds, I want a nice round bevel on them, on the end of the bars. So hopefully you understand what I'm talking about. Okay, so the torch angled down onto the bar, onto the round bar, sort of a 45-degree angle. And then what I do then is I just work it down into the band. Work the bars. Bad earth, boys. Give it the points in the welder, I need to adjust it. I think that's what it is. There's a bad cable on this TIG torch. It's interfering with my work. So keeping the torch on it to leave the welds nice and clean. It's hard to get them ones done nice and neat, but they are neat, but they're not, they're alright. Okay. Just checking there's no dip there. Just getting rid of any wee craters. We don't want the craters because when I sand the band, you will see them. If there is any craters, which there's not, I can fix it later on when I'm not running the live stream. But they're looking okay. So now we need the clamp to bring the mesh tight. I'm going to check they're straight first. Okay, I'm just going to check they're straight to the band, which they're not. So we're nearly done. Live stream number 17. So it's the first time I ever run that many live streams on a project. Okay, so they look all nice and straight now. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to weld 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 maybe. I'll weld 3 and then I'll come back to it. Okay. Okay, so I'm just putting a wee tack on that for the meantime to make sure it's straight. It is. Okay. It's okay, so you're never gonna see it. Just checking for wee craters. It'd be great if I had somewhere to set this torch. There, it's not bad there, is it? So, checking the bars are straight. Important now that they're getting longer. Longer if regards to this bar. So this is my reference point, really. The longer the bars get, the more they look out of place without the support that the bars have at this point. So they look alright, you know. I'm gonna just blast them. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll go for it. This one needs clamp. Clamping it, trying not to move it. Left or right, it looks out of place. It's alright. I just have to tap it if it's not lined up. So I have fade down on, and this slope down on the welder setup, so it removes any wee pinholes. So them two's okay. Ready to be welded. So I'm trying to focus the weld only at the point where the bar is and not to this edge because I don't want to damage it. Don't want to lose its sharp edge, if that makes sense. It would look rough, you know, when you go to polish it or sand it. Sand it first initially, and then when I'm polishing it into a mirror, you'll see the imperfections, and I don't want that. So now I just have to weld 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 at the two sides to finish this. So it's going well here. So this one's bent. This one's it's not bent now. Okay. This one needs a bit of filler rod because I've made a mess. I've cut it. But it was required because the band needed set to the mesh beforehand. So I'm going to go ahead here with 1, 2, 3. Just putting a wee bit of pressure on this one. It's going sideways. It's going sideways. So I'll push down first. I'll just tack it for the meantime. Just to double check it before I weld that fully. It's grand. I could maybe do with a wee chop. No, it's alright. Leave it alone. But it's important that I put the clamp back on it because when I weld it, it will rise. Okay. So, 2 in the middle needs welded. Are they straight? A wee bit out, a wee bit out. You see, the problem is, these wee bars aren't perfectly straight sometimes. If I weld here now, I can tap this bar in the middle if it's bent. Wee bit of filler rod here now. It's important. Oh dear. Perfect. So I cut that one. There was a bit like a mil gap. I have a cut using the Dremel because it was out of position. So I'm flying now. And you can't exactly flick it down when there's a gap there. So how do you use a wee bit of rod? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and they look straight. They look straight, so I'll keep her lit. Well, as I say, they look straight until you weld them. It's alright. Okay. Oh, this one's sitting up. This one's sitting proud. So what I'll do is the same thing again, is I'll tack it. We tack the smalls of tacks. And then I can shift it if need be. So it needs shifted. The clamp, when I put the clamp on, it moved. So this one needs to go a wee touch that way. Back the way again. Too much, Jeffrey. Oh. The heat's getting to me now. Right, so this one needs to come this way. It's alright. What I'll do here is I'll clamp it again, weld it. So I can't move now when I put the clamp on it. But I could the first time. This one needs a bit of filler rod because I have cut it. Grand job. So these ones can be welded on up. Done by eye, line them up by eye, just no point using the verniers because different gaps in it there. Nice rounded edges on these. This one here might lift. So I'm just going to clamp it. It's already been welded to the band. I'll just take a I'll just risk it. Or will I? Great. Right, this one needs a bit of feather rod. The one that's been cut. I'll just bring it up and show you what I'm talking about. So, I'll bring the torch up. I have cut this one because it wasn't lined up. I was more fixated on getting the band lined up on the jig and not the bars. So, a bit of work. And as I say, this being the band, made out of 2 pieces of stainless. Okay, so the weld's completely removed here and also here at this point. The reason being is because I'm going to be polishing it into mirror finish. Because you will see it through the front panels sitting over here. So where is this one now? This is the opposite side. You know what? I'll keep striking it here. No, it's not. Is it? No, there it is here. So we don't want no dips below the weld on the flat bar or on the band. Gone. Please don't do this, welder. It's a welder or this torch. I need the clamp. I need the clamp. So the reason it's just a habit that I'm manoeuvring the torch here is to sort of flick the gas around the weld. Is that welded? It is. Okay. Looks really well. I didn't think it was going to turn out so good. That's just being honest. So, we have about 13 bars, 13 spots here to do. So I'm going to start off, work my way this time. So, the smaller bars tend to be straighter because when I say smaller bars, the smaller ends, because if you can imagine, when I was polishing this into mirror, the bigger bars had no support out here, so they're much more leverage. And at this point, it's less likely for these bars to move out of position. But at this point, there's more chance, and that's why most of them's bent, because of the polishing stages. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the welder could also have dust between the points, the high frequency part of the welder, so I need to check that. So that's 5. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 to finish this piece. And then it could be sanded and polished. I'm so excited, because this will look really well. Okay, I'm going to start off with smaller ones for the reason I discussed. So 1, 2, 3, 4 look straight. This one might need a wee adjust, you know. When you adjust this one, you need to adjust the other one because it throws it off. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And there's a gap, so these need to be brought tighter to the band using these wee 2-inch clamps. I'm just going to tack it again because it may need hit over. When I say tack it, I'm really talking a small tack. So that's okay. Now I can weld these two. I can go ahead here. Don't do it to me, welder. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 left. Well, and this one. So I need to put the clamp on it because it was sitting proud. When I put the heat on it again, it will release the tack. So I need to put the clamp back on it just. So pull on the end of the bar down into the the piece of flat bar. I'm just checking there's no, there looks to be a wee crater. So what I'm doing is trying to just feather it off. There's a crater in this one too. So what I can do in this instance is just give it a wee bit of feather rod. It can always be sanded at the end. It mightn't even be a crater, it might be a reflection. Nah, it was a crater. So when I say a crater, it's sort of drawing the stainless out of the band and leaving a wee crater around the pull of weld. And I don't want that because it's too much sanding then. So I'm going to just check these last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that one can be welded. It is welded, but it might lift when I weld it. Okay, so it's this one's out. This one's okay, I think the one I welded. This one's okay to be welded. So I sort of flick it twice. This one can be welded, but it needs the clamp because, as you can tell, I clamped it beforehand. If I weld it, it will lift and make a mess. Now that it's parallel to the other ones, I can weld it fully. Perfect. So guess what? I have one bar left to do. I have to make sure it's parallel to the other ones first. It's alright. It's alright, it's alright, it's alright. Yay! Hold on. Okay. Good job. Okay, so I'm nearly there. I'm nearly finished this lengthy project. Project. So, my next step now, well, I still have to weld the guards complete, the front guard and this backing panel. So, my next step now, I still have to polish them and demurray it. I still have to run the actual polishing machine down this edge, right round this entire face even, all these faces. So, my next step now is making mounting points for the front guards so that for the rear panels and the front guards so that I can mount the front guards to the actual backing panel. So when I say mounting points, obviously we have the mounting point that I just created for the backing panel. But in order for me to attach this front guard now to the backing panel or to this band, I need to have some sort of a tab or a washer. My initial thought was to use a washer as described earlier. So these wee washers here, but I've went against that now and I've decided to do it a different way. So what I'm going to do here is have 4 mounting points. So 4 fixing points where I'm going to fix the front guard to this backing panel. So that will be around here and around here. So at this part of the guard, this part, and around this part and this part. I'm not putting none on the straight part of the guard here because it's not required. If I'm holding this front guard to the backing panel at the 4 corners, technically the 4 corners, it should be sufficient. I definitely can't fix the guard down at this point because if you remember me, I discussed earlier, I remember saying that, see this pipe? I need to allow a wee bit of wiggle room. Well, I need to remove a bit of the front guard for the inlet pipes to the vessel. So that may be a wee bit tricky cutting that, but without wrecking the guards, but I will get it done. So what I'm going to do here now is cut 4 tabs, but these 4 tabs need to be the same radius is this large radius and this small radius. So I need 2 tabs for this end, 2 tabs for this end. I will mark those out when I'm going to weld them on, but for now I'm just going to get stuck on this and get them cut. So here we have one of these bands, half bands, that I created when I rolled the other 4. So this was like a test piece. So what I'm going to do now is cut 4 pieces at 12mm wide at this radius and 4 pieces at 12mm wide at the smaller radius, this tighter radius. So these pieces of stainless steel then, bars, rounded curved bars, will be welded directly on the back of these 2 bars, around this point, around here. Probably, I'll work that out in a moment, but as I say, they will be welded at the back. They will have a 5mm hole centre between the bars, so if it's 10mm in there, the hole will be dead in the centre. Placed 5mm from between this bar to the hole and this bar to the hole, so it's equal. So the idea is here, I don't want to talk about this too much because there's some work on these guards. This video is definitely going to run long. So I want the edge of this front guard, which is this point, in line with the flat plate, or sorry, the band that I created, this flat bar, but not the back of the guard itself. So I don't want the front guard passing the band, because if it passes the band, that means it will fall, this round bar will fall, it's hard to describe. This round bar will start dipping down and the guard would start wiggling about. We don't want that. We want this round bar. I have designed this guard so that this band sits tight to this bar. We're running this way. So it's very technical here. I'm going into depth, but I'm just trying to explain it as best as I can. So I'll get these 4 pieces cut now outside. I have to take a bench outside to do this. I probably will drill the holes later. So I need a 5mm hole on these tabs. But first things first, I'm going to drill them 4mm to allow for, to allow the alignment. So I can drill these this band in 4 places, just to make sure everything's lined up. So when I have the tab holes drilled at 4mm, I then will place the front panel, the front guard, onto the backing panel. Then I will run the drill on through, but it needs to be sitting on the bench like this one. So hopefully you understand. Then I will tap the holes when the welding's all complete. Then I can run the tabs out to 5mm to match these cap screws. So I'm going to be using these little cap screws. I'll take one out here. The reason I'm using a cap screw is because I can get on with an Allen key. So if you can imagine, this 3mm plate that I'm about to weld on the inside, we'll have to cut them first obviously. It will sit underneath these 2 bars. So we need this bolt to go sort of dip in between these 2 ones. So it's sort of recessed in between these 2 bars. It's not sitting flush with here, if you can imagine. The plate's at the bottom and not the top. So I'm going to get these cut now, these 4 pieces, or sorry, 8 pieces. 4 of these and 4 of these. This part of this band is not required because the guards are nearly complete here and everything's going well. So I'll go outside here now and get these 8 pieces cut, then we'll get them welded on and we'll get them drilled when they are in position. Okay everyone, so that's it. I had to stop there at this part of the custom guards, this project. So this video takes us to the end of live stream part 14. I think live stream part 17 was also included here to finish the precision welding of the 2 backing panels seen here. So just to point out, we have the 2 front guards sitting here and the 2 backing panels sitting here, or 2 back guards. So another main video, part 5.4, will follow this one. Very soon, finalising the 4-set guard piece. So I wasn't expecting this video to run on so long. There's just so much work involved in making guards to this unique shape, the way I'm doing it out of stainless steel. So the next section will involve a serious amount of sanding and mirror polishing. I will need to create, well, I'm hoping to create one more section, but if need be, I will maybe add another section, part 5.5, and that will take us to 5 parts for the manufacturing of these guards. So I will try and keep it down to one more section, but if need be, I will just move it along to another part, a new section for part 5. So if you haven't done already, when I move this chair, if you haven't done already, do get a look at this build, this compressor project that came on my channel starting last year. So I tumbled the vessel, I selected new pumps, new motors, all new cables, all new, everything was just brand new on top of this vessel. The vessel was also refurbed. So that's where the other parts are for this project. And that's why the custom guards part 5 is split into so many sections, because there's so much work. So as I say, in the next section I will hopefully finish these guards. As you can see from the level of detail I go into on this video and all the live streams of the guards, these custom guards, anything unique takes time and careful skill. If you want to see other interesting projects like this custom compressor build, my green e-bike build, my unique mechanical iris, my aperture, or my unique smart glove for monitoring the hand joints, please subscribe and hit the post notifications bell to see all the latest from my channel. So as previously stated, such projects are not seen elsewhere worldwide. The significant time, the effort, the skill and the level of detail, the attention invested into these projects are achievements beyond. Watch this space, it's only beginning to get more exciting. Goodbye.